Hi, this is Bear Ross, science fiction writer, and you're listening to Dead Hand Radio.
Welcome to Dead Hand Radio.
Glad to be here. Thank you very much.
Do you go by Bear or is it John?
Yeah, I go by both. Full legal name is John Bear Ross. The publisher decided we'll just chop the John off.
All right, man, I'll call you Bear. So let's get into this, man, because I want to learn a little bit more about your background. I saw that you're in the military, but I'll let you take it from here and just give me, your background and how you got interested in science fiction.
I'm kind of a Cold War kid, or towards the end of the Cold War kids. I was born in '75, so I'm like solid right in the middle of Gen X. Graduated high school in '93, so I saw the tail end of things as far as the Cold War aspect of things goes. I was born down in Yuma. My mom remarried a naval officer when I was 9, and we went over to Japan. Spent 3 years in Japan. Spent a year in Seattle, and then down to Alameda, where the nuclear vessels are, and then ended up in Vegas, where my dad worked in the tunnels at the test site. He did contract oversight for the Navy. So I graduated high school in Vegas, like I mentioned before, but I've been all over. I got to see multiple locales, multiple cultures. Grew up in, they seem to be scary times looking back at it now. And from Vegas, went to university, flunked out, joined the Marines, came back to Vegas, worked in the casinos, doing valet and security, and ended up at the nuclear test site as security and then later as maintenance. That's basically the resume for me. What got me into science fiction was no matter where we moved, my mom made sure we had access to the library. On-base libraries are often beautiful. And then, Seattle and Alameda had great Carnegie libraries. And then we always had a bookshelf stocked with old pulp stuff of Edgar Rice Burroughs. And then my two formative authors on me are like prototypical Cold War stuff. Niven and Pornell, Dr. Jerry Pornell and Larry Niven. They write as a duo, and then Tom Clancy. So those things really made an impression on me and said, hey, I want to tell stories too. And eventually I decided, hey, I'm going to start writing.
Sounds like a pretty straightforward path to writing. Are you still working out at the test site, or did you retire?
I am.
Okay.
Yep, I'm not a full-time writer. I basically write when I can. It's pretty extensive hours out there, but caffeine helps, kind of.
Now I know a lot of guys do like 3 or 4 days on, and then they get to come home for a couple of days, and then they just cycle in and out like that. Is that how that works for you?
Yeah, well, for me it's 4/10, so I'm on 4. I come home every night. So and I live in Pahrump. Even then, it's a 2-hour commute each way. So I'm committed to the test site one way or another, coming back or there about 14, 15 hours a day. So I get home, I kind of just drop and knock it out. But every weekend's a 3-day weekend, unless I have overtime. So
nice. So well, that leaves you enough time to squeeze in some writing now and then. How many books have you put out so far?
With my current publisher, Aethon Books, 2 full-size novels. Before that, I've been writing on and off as an independent, and for other small presses, I've been doing anthologies. 40,000 word stories here and there when I could. So I've been doing that for about 10 years. But Aethon a couple years ago liked my independent book, said, hey, let's take this into a trilogy and do a developmental edit on it, and gone from there. So I'm working on book 3 right now. That'll finish out my trilogy, and hopefully we'll keep going.
And that's the Junction World trilogy that you're talking about?
Yes, sir. Yep, Junction World.
Okay, cool. Now, looking at the cover art, it looks like that is heavily on the side of the mechanized.
Oh yeah, I'm all about the mechs. When I grew up as a kid, Robotech, which later I learned was Macross, BattleTech, Transor Z, which was Mazinger Z at the time. And living in Japan, like I mentioned before, Zoids were heavy. So the big robotic animals. But yeah, everything mecha in my life. I'm a real mecha head.
Very cool. Do you want to talk a little bit about the backstory for your novel? I mean, like how did it come into being, and what gave you the idea for writing about mechs?
Well, no matter what I read about Mechs, it's just it's like breathing in and breathing out. Junction World was kind of a unique setting. It's kind of like a mixture of like Blade Runner and Stargate and a couple, dark noir settings, but with giant interdimensional portals ringing this pocket dimension. The place is I base it on Vegas basically. I I figured it was this place about 100 miles across. No one knows why it's there or how it got there, but it's a central nexus for all these different places to meet. It's a place between worlds, kind of. And so these overlords, I call them the gatekeepers, or they call themselves the gatekeepers, have basically captured this place. It's constantly changing hands. They're currently in control, and their method of control is not only regulating commerce through the gates, but also setting up like bread and circuses, like the Romans, a mass distraction sports, so that they snatch these people at a time, or peril, bring them back to Junction World, record them fighting each other in these mechanized arenas, and broadcast that as another source of revenue and pacification, basically.
Cool. So the gladiator arenas with mechanized armor.
Yeah, and I don't know if people read the books. The first book is I have a couple neat to me structured gladiator sequences, and then eventually, as you keep reading the book, a rebellion starts, and it turns into straight, or not straight, but science fiction military carnage. So, but it starts off all nice and neat, where people just killing each other in the arena, and pretty soon they start killing each other everywhere.
Okay, cool. So it sounds like it turns into a full-blown uprising or rebellion, similar to that one of Spartacus.
Kind of, yeah, and along the same lines, the gatekeepers, these little blobby overlords, they maintain control, not just with the arenas, but active control with their own army of 3D printed people. They call them the Model Niners. And so the Niners eventually, and the rebellion's been bred out of them, but eventually, you can't keep rebellion out of life. Life finds a way. So eventually the Niners turn, and hilarity ensues. And that's what book 3 is about right now.
Okay. So you said everything you write has to do with mechs, but where did that spark come from?
When I was a kid, Transformers, like I said, I was born in 75. So about 82, 83, Transformers came online. 84, I started watching, or 85, somewhere in there. I was watching Robotech. I got back to the States. BattleTech had just started. So it's just always been thrilling to the inner 8-year-old in me of these giant walking tanks, striding across the land and blowing stuff up. So I don't think I've really progressed beyond 8.
I think all of us have an inner child that's just screaming to get out. Some of us have the creative outlet to allow that to happen, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Do you think your time in the military as a Marine Corps or as a Marine had anything to do with your interest in telling stories?
I think so. I never went to war. But I did do my time. I was between wars. I was in from 95 to 01, and before 9/11 kicked off, I was out. It was unfortunate because I wanted to go. That's how they train you. My time as a Marine helped me see how action would go down. I mean, even if I've never been in a combat situation, you can extrapolate and put yourself in there through training and the general mindset. Yes, this would work. Yes, or no, that wouldn't work. And you put it through the SciFi filter, and you want to make it so that I've always said I want things to be that modern combat soldier can pick up my stuff, read it, or look at it because I also sculpt and say, yeah, I can see things going that way. You know, it might be laser beams and jetpacks, but I can still see things going that way. People are still going to be people until we get replaced by robots.
Yeah. Were you more of a book reader or a movie lover when you were growing up?
I read a lot of books. TV was restricted in our house, but we still got to see movies. Wasn't a lot of time for cartoons. We had to earn our hour of daily TV, so we had to be very specific in what we watched. And but yeah, growing up, I always had my nose in a book. My eyes went bad real early because of it. I was in glasses by the time I was 12, I think.
Do you still read avidly?
I don't have nearly as much time as I'd want to. You know, writing takes up a lot of my time. Audiobooks gives me a chance to take things in. You know, keep up with the competition, see what the latest trends are going, and still keep my finger on the pulse, and not take up time that would otherwise be by writing. And I have a big bookshelf here. I reread my touchstones, the ones I love, about once a year, when I can. But I have a pretty good memory, so once you're reading a section, oh, I've read this before. I love this part. I just refresh that in the head unit, but not nearly as much time for reading anymore, unfortunately.
So name some of the books that you go back to on a regular basis.
I just reread Red Storm Rising by Tom Clancy. Love that book. Possibility of a conventional Warsaw Pact NATO war in Western Europe. I try and reread Footfall by Larry Niven and Pornell every year. Do it every once in a while.
What is Footfall about?
Footfall is an invasion by a species from a neighboring star system, but it's not super tech. It takes decades for them to get here. We see them all the way in. We meet them, and then they blow us out of the sky and begin their invasion. But it's clunky, and it shows the differences. One of Niven's laws is there are minds that think like yours but differently, and so he really does a beautiful study on herd mentality, alien versus us. They're like big elephants, so it's like elephants versus monkeys here on planet Earth. So it turns into guerrilla warfare with them tearing the hell out of us from orbit until we can launch a counterattack. So it's one of my favorites.
Any others?
Geez, look at man. I mean, I love them all. I mean, but I always go back to Niven, Pornell, Heinlein a little bit, some of the classics, a little bit Asimov, and then from there I just delve into my comic books too.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm a big comic book. Well, I'm less of a comic book aficionado nowadays, but I have a pretty good collection. I go back and reread some of the comics that I have occasionally. I just love the artwork, man. I'm a big fan of the artwork. Very visual person.
Yeah, I'm on that front as well with you. I collected hardcore, like everybody did in the 90s at my age. But so I have a couple long boxes in the garage. But my favorite artist of all time is an English guy named Alan Davis. He's just smooth, beautiful artwork. I love his pencils.
What are some of the books he's drawn?
Excalibur. He's done a lot of runs on X-Men and Justice League, but most people know him from his big run on Excalibur in the mid '90s. He did Clandestine in the early 2000s. Captain Britain when he was still over in England. He did a lot of stuff over there before he became huge and came over to America. Obviously not that huge if nobody's heard of him, but yeah, he did a couple great runs on X-Men that most people recognize.
What other comic book titles do you find, or I mean, are you interested in?
I liked a lot of the like the Jim Lee X-Men run. When X-Men turned into X-Men 1 with the four cover debut. A little bit DC. I like Dan Brereton stuff, a lot of painted stuff. Alex Ross, I love Alex Ross's painted stuff. A lot of the Image stuff. I liked Eric Larson's initial run on Savage Dragon. A lot of the Image number ones I collected like everybody collected, and yeah, the pride of my collection is those Alan Davis Excaliburs, I think.
Some of those books nowadays are going to be worth quite a bit of money, and down the road they're going to be priceless.
Let's hope so.
I think so. I mean, because printed books, printed comics are becoming less and less popular, and people are switching over to the digital version of the books now.
Oh yeah, that and just video games. Video games to me is basically taking over any creative market you see out there. Comics are suffering, books are suffering, even movies are suffering. So, why spend as $60 to take the family to a movie when you can spend $60 and play on a game for a minimum of 60 hours? So it's a matter of time versus money. People get more bang for the buck with a video game.
Yeah, video games are. I have mixed feelings about video games because I have had a few video games that I really enjoyed playing, and I still every once in a while will dabble back into playing a video game once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But they are so consuming. You can get lost in a video game, like you said, for hours at a time, and it just turns into a big time dump. I don't consider it a waste of time because, unless you're doing it 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, 8 or more hours a day, and you're not trying to do anything positive with your life.
Yeah.
In that situation, then it could be a negative.
Yeah, like I said, I have a 17-year-old. That's what he does.
Okay. As long as he gets his homework done, as long as he's, gets good grades at school.
I can't give him too much guff because he's still bringing home straight A's, and he's still doing college courses while he's in high school. So I have to let it go.
Yeah, but for a grown man who's trying to make a living, provide for his family, to spend that much time and not earn an income doing it, that's a detriment to his way of life.
It does, but I figured he can be a kid for now, and pretty soon he can hit the hard wall of reality. I'll let him be a kid for now.
Right, but even I talked with Jay Clifton Slater. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know him? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know him well. Good man.
I just recently met him, and he is a nice guy. But he tells me he plays video games every once in a while now.
He does. He does. Yeah. It's a trip. He's in his 70s.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, he's knocking it out.
It's good. Very cool. And I think video games is just another way of entertainment. It's just a way to, clear your mind and have some downtime, but you're still using your brain.
Yeah.
To solve problems.
Still be stimulated, but you get to shut the ugliness of the world out. So.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think there's certainly a place for video games. I just think that it's a shame that it's taking over every other entertainment that's out there. So what I would like to do is talk a little bit theoretical and get into some of the history and some of the future of science fiction. Are you comfortable talking about stuff like that?
Sure.
Okay. Now, the Cold War has always been an area of fascination for me, and I try to tie in the Cold War with every conversation I have on this podcast. And a question that I've been asking my guests recently, a lot of them have been writers, filmmakers, artists, creative people. How do you feel that the Cold War has impacted the creative arts, throughout the late 40s through the early 90s?
Well, monstrous. It was basically, it had its fingerprints in everything that happened. I mean, I have one right now. I have a quintessential nuclear family, mom and dad, 2 kids, and a cat. But it shaped American society, and so from that, it shaped what we want for our entertainments and things along that sort. Um, I mean, the Cold War is in everything we touch and see even to this day. Growing up at the time, you know, you had noon air raid siren tests on base, and it was just looking back. It was kind of a trip to see. I mean, we lived on military bases, so we knew that they were the first to be on the hit list. Even as a kid, and I'm a natural warrior. Uh, it's always gnawed at the back of your head. So I think from there it really definitely uh, influenced society. Everything you see basically these days is, and it's human nature. It's us versus them. You know, the Blues versus the Reds. It was the valiant Americans versus the godless communists. So it everything you see these back then, and to an extent today, because it trickles down from then. I think was influenced by us versus them. Prepare yourself. Things might be coming. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with that. Can you pinpoint a specific example of where that's illustrated? Take your time, man. I know these questions are a little bit deep.
I mean, from what time period? I mean, I used to watch over and over again on loop Doctor Strangelove. That was burned up.
Dude, that is one of my favorite movies of all time. So
used to be I could quote that thing back and forth. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite line from that movie?
The classic one. Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room. But
good one.
would you like a cigar? And there's no, thank you. I don't support the work of capitalist stooges. Oh, only commie stooges, huh?
Yeah. What about let's see, Slim Pickens in the he's the Colonel Kong.
Oh yeah, when he's giving the monologue of the description of the contents of the survival kit.
No, before that, toe to toe, nuclear war, toe to toe with the Ruskies.
With the Ruskies, yep.
Yeah, I love that. I love that line, man. Oh, and then his most iconic moment of the whole movie was riding that nuclear bomb down.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. Yeah, that movie had so much beauty in it, and you try and make people watch it. First, I've turned off because it's black and white. Like I try to make my kids watch it, and they don't get it. They don't get the subtext. Because they weren't raised with the nuclear trigger pointed right at them, so they wouldn't know. But even me, I didn't grow up in the era of SAC and constant patrols. I was, but when I became aware of it, Ronnie was already president, and things were coming to a head. It wasn't the constant day in, day out. Bombers might be coming over through the Arctic Circle. So who knows?
Yeah. Well, but you still found yourself drawn to it, and that's just an illustration of how much it impacted people from all walks of life, and for over an extended, multiple decades period of time. But I'm going to go back to that question I asked you previously. So I'd like for you to reach back through history and thinking about entertainment and in relation to during the period of the Cold War, and try to pinpoint an example of something of whether it's a book, a movie, that really encompasses that struggle between the Soviet Union and the West.
To me, it was Clancy. Red Storm Rising and The Hunt for Red October are two, and a little bit the Cardinal of the Kremlin too, but there was a quintessential techno thriller showing what is going on behind the scenes and out in front, on the military front, the diplomatic front, the economic front, and just how the juxtaposition was there. You see how things work on one side. These are novelizations, obviously, and how things work with the Russian mindset versus what happens with our hero Jack Ryan and all things he has to go through. But Jack Ryan wasn't in Red Storm Rising, but in that book particularly, the collective economy grinds to a halt, and they have no choice in their mind but to launch war. And so it becomes a battle to the death almost, at the Fulda Gap. So to me, it comes down to that. These two philosophies, their weaknesses, their strengths, coming to a head, toe to toe, T-72 to M1 instead of nuclear combat. But that was a great tanker book to me.
Yeah, keeping it conventional, it seems like that would make sense. But if one side seems to be losing, how long are they going to wait until they do launch a counterstrike with nuclear
Correct.
weapons?
And they address that in the book. They were on the verge of throwing in. The Soviets were on the verge of launching nukes, and then I won't ruin it. I mean, it's a 35, 40-year-old book, but things change in the book. So just as things are about to happen, things change. So it's
Do you explore the concept of nuclear warfare in your books?
I do. With the gatekeepers, the little guys in charge of Junction World, they have these things called pressure nukes. They're not full on fission or fusion warheads. They're basically they have a little force field in them that takes a minimum amount of material, and so they don't go. I would say they're more in the range of maybe a kiloton at the most. They're more precise nukes, if such a thing can happen. So to maintain their control along with their clone army and arenas, they also have this central battery, the central tower in the middle of Junction World, where they can, if you start acting up or things start coming through the gates, they nuke it. And but they don't make the whole place a wasteland. They introduce these precision pressure nukes that knock the hell out of everything within 100, 200 meters.
So does the whole story unfold within this little pocket universe, or do
yeah, I mean,
you explore do they have contact with other universes?
They do. The first book, I try and introduce the world. Try and set things up in the first book, and show our main character and the struggles she has to go through. And then in the second book, I take her through one of the world gates to perform the mission that she has to get done, and show a little bit more of the world up that stream. There's 8 streams basically of gate networks that lead to Junction World. And so she goes through one gate and doesn't even make it that far, only 2 or 3 worlds in, but you basically have to hop from world to world, kind of like Stargate. And she has to perform her mission there and somehow get back. But it is it's a steady exposure. I can't dump too much, because the way I've created the universe is just it's huge. I have infinite worlds, infinite possibilities. Comes down to one central locus. So I had to pick one spot and say, okay, we're gonna start from here, go to there, and maybe it'll branch out into a whole science fiction universe where we get away from the main character and start things from a different perspective, because there's millions of perspectives out there.
Yeah, you could go really anywhere with that.
Yeah, it's a pretty open universe.
How did the concept of multiple worlds make it into your novels?
I've always been a fan of alternate realities, alternate histories, that type of stuff. Hell, I think you can go back to the beginning of it was the mirror universe with the original series Star Trek. Everybody evil had a goatee or a mustache, and that's how you knew they were the mirror universe. Like the mirror universe Spock, for example, had that evil goatee. So, and then it went from there. And then like I said, when I was in comics, Alan Davis, a lot of his work was called the transdimensional caper, and he takes variations of what you're used to, alters it slightly. So I always enjoyed that concept. I don't like being fixed in just one thing. What if you were to fight, the evil beard version of yourself, that kind of stuff. And it just grew from there. And so this way I had not a rigid, but a semi-rigid structure, or a formal structure, where I could make things happen. What happens if things go this way and things go that way. I could have theoretically, a place where, and not to be sacrilegious or anything, but I have a place where, the Holocaust never happened, and there's like this, Israeli mechs could possibly fight Nazi mechs, and I would like to see that happen. Or where the Cold War never ended with mechs. So I could have some model T-99 mechanized people's walker versus your Yankee Doodle M99 mech.
Are those actual mechs from your story?
No, but I've stuff along that line. Not in this stuff, but I've been cranking out alternate universes and what ifs and potential storylines for decades. And so most people have like their alternate Cold War stuff, their alternate World War II stuff, their alternate Vietnam stuff. And in my case, I always pepper it with mechs, but it's neat taking what you know of history and extrapolating from there, and then seeing what could happen in your own little head.
So how do you see the future of science fiction? What direction do you see science fiction going in the next 5 to 10 years as a whole?
There's business side and story side are to me two different things, because I'm on the inside. Inside baseball, I see a lot more independent stuff coming out. Even the traditional authors will eventually stop giving so much of their money and percentage to the publishing houses, and just publish their stuff direct through Amazon Kindle and stuff like that. That's the business side of it. I think people are. That's honestly why I name my guys the gatekeepers. I fought for years to break in, and once I found a way around it, there was this philosophy called 20 books to 50K. I said, well, I'm gonna name my bad guys the gatekeeper, because that's what I've been fighting against all these years. Amazon has given independent guys who want to break in but that can't. Lightning can't strike everywhere. Amazon's given independent guys guys like me to break in and get past the gatekeepers. Now there's hundreds of thousands of people that think they can write, so you're going to become a voice lost in the crowd. And some people say that gatekeeping is a good thing, but that's neither here nor there. But bottom line, on the inside baseball side, more people are going to start writing their own books for themselves. Storytelling wise, I think, like we mentioned before, video games. There's a subgenre that's emerged in the last decade or so called lit RPG, and it's basically you follow the novelization of a playing session. And not necessarily of a current existing game. The author makes up a game, makes up the rules, makes up the characters and stats, and he tells a story of the character in the novel, but also includes like the stats. You kill a guy and pick up some magic sword. He has you write a little sideline in the sidebar. You now have this sword of power +1, and so the story goes with that. But you're also tracking stats, and in a battle you're tracking wounds. It's weird for me to wrap my head around, because I like traditional novels, but the audience these days has responded to that new format where people play video games a lot. If they do read, they want to read about video games, and so it's really taken off. I'm surprised.
That's a really interesting, and I think a very well thought perspective on the future of the genre. Well, I certainly think you're going to see, many, many more science fiction games coming out. And one of the big ones that's going to be released here, I think it was supposed to be released in November, was Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, that looks glorious. I've seen the trailers for that.
It does. The graphics on that just looks amazing.
And they even got Keanu. But yeah,
that's right.
The trailers look great, though. Yeah, it looks beautiful. Exactly what you want your cyberpunk future to look like.
Yeah, it seems like a really interesting world to inhabit, and
yeah, no doubt.
It may be a game that I try. I may give that game a try just because it looks so amazing.
Yeah.
But I think that trend is going to continue for a long time to come, and probably increase its dominance over the industry. The entertainment industry. I think video games is going to continue to dominate the entertainment industry going forward.
No doubt. Yeah.
What about technology that you see being integrated into stories?
Uh, for me, I've always, along with writing and doing my regular day job at the test site, I've always been into 3D printing. I've along with Mechs, Mechs pervade every aspect of my life. I used to sculpt mechs for tabletop games. There was a game, a company out of Texas called Reaper Miniatures. They started a game called CAV, Combat Assault Vehicle, and I sculpted a lot of their mechs. But I'm not that great of a mechanical or a regular sculptor by hand. Most of it's done by putty and like little dental picks. Uh, 20 years ago, I went to the earliest forms of Google and said, I've heard about this stuff called 3D printing. How do I do it? And eventually I found a program, a CAD program called Rhino, taught myself that, and hooked up with one of the first people that were renting time on their 3D printers. And so that's how I started as a 3D sculptor, basically. What I do with that, and what over 20 years doing that, I've incorporated that in my writing. The Niners are a bioprinted race of warriors. There's no birthing chambers or these floating mechanical uterus devices. It's just they print them up slice by slice, kind of like when they reformed Lilu in The Fifth Element, or a couple other things where you're seeing people printed in front of you. So I use a lot of 3D printing in my work. I think it's going to really manifest it every day in our lives. I finally bought one a couple years ago. They were always expensive. They were always $250,000, $500,000 for a printer. And now I can get a desktop model on my shelf here that costs $250. So the technology has really increased. I think we're going to see more of that in our life coming up. I think it's going to be one in every house eventually, just like microwaves.
Well, I think it's kind of interesting, but I look around me in my office and I don't have a printer. I don't have a
laser jet printer.
Yeah, a printer like that. But I used to have a printer in every office. When I had an office, we had multiple printers. But now you don't really need printers because everything is digital. And I mean, if you want something printed, you take it down to the local store and have them print it for you.
It's almost to the point where if I need paper, it's a special occasion. Yeah, it's like writing checks now. When's the last time you wrote a check? I had wrote mine for my passport, but before that, I hadn't written a check in years.
Yeah, but there was a period between, taking your stuff and paying exorbitant amount of money to have something printed for you.
Yeah.
To the desktop printer, the advent of the desktop printer, and everybody had one of those. So I think you're right. I think 3D printing is definitely going to be something that is going to be easily accessible to everybody within a very short period of time.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that you have already delved into the idea of bioprinting, because that's something that's just on the very cutting edge of science right now. They're just barely getting into bioprinting certain organs, and I don't even know if they've had success with it yet.
They're trying. I think the Israelis are supposed to be on top of a lot of this stuff. They basically do a lattice work that and then print within that lattice. And I'm hoping for a new liver someday. As much beer as I drink. Control P, new liver, please. Thank you. I'll take it.
Yeah, I was keeping up on that kind of stuff there for a little while, but I have so many interests.
Yeah.
And I go through phases. So there will be a time where I go revisit and look into all that stuff.
And the technology advances so fast. It is like drinking from a fire hose. I mean, we're also plugged in these days that if you go into a specific niche like biomedical printing, you'll still get lost because there's so much going on all around the world.
And doubles every 6 months or something like that. Isn't that
Well, I'm sure you're at a exponential rate. I think
yeah.
talking about that old processing power
Oh
law where
yeah.
it's 18 months or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that time is decreasing while the
Oh yeah.
capabilities are increasing.
Oh yeah. We're heading for that singularity. It'll be fun. Super dope.
Yeah, really. What other type of technologies do you see that are going to start to appear in science fiction, or maybe technology that hasn't really been invented yet? Do you have any insight or like
I'm
theories
holding
on?
I'm holding over some breakthrough in propulsion. You know, interplanetary propulsion. I don't know if we'll ever break the light speed barrier in conventional space. You know, maybe we'll warp through things or open wormholes from here to there. But I'm hoping I want to get off this planet. So I always tell my people I want to die a cyborg in a different gravity well. I don't want to stay on this mud ball anymore. So I'm hoping that we can somehow break through and get to Mars within a matter of days, if not weeks, instead of months to possibly years, depending on where the orbits are. So I'd like to be able to, to me, I'd like to be like the Expanse. You know, we can get across the solar system in a couple weeks or so. As huge as it is, I still want to be able to traverse at least my local solar system. So I'm hoping for a breakthrough in propulsion.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I know that there's a lot of speculation going on with. I'm sure you're familiar with the Nimitz incident with the that back in the 2004, they were tracking some unidentified
Oh
objects,
yeah, yep.
and there's a strong theory that they're putting out that the propulsion for those is some kind of gravity.
Some kind of reactionless drive or some kind of anti-gravity to use a loose phrase. But yeah, I hope so. Hopefully we already have it, and we're just waiting to spring it on us. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, it would be cool. And if we have stuff like that now, or if we're on the verge of inventing stuff like that, um, hopefully it wouldn't be much longer that we would be able to use that through space as well.
Yeah, I mean it's a big universe, and we've been broadcasting, "Hey, we're here. We're here for at least 100 something years since Marconi." And so eventually, though, those signals are going to reach somebody. Then they're going to say, "Hey, let's investigate that little backward planet," and hopefully we can at least meet them. It's like the whole Columbus analog. If the Indians had sailed out to meet Columbus in large ships, do you think they would have been overrun and colonized, or do you think it would have been more mutual? That kind of thing.
Yeah, UFOs are a topic of intense interest for me as well. I do. I've had a couple people on the podcast who have experienced stuff that they cannot explain. One guy even saw something through night vision goggles when he was in the desert of Jordan back in I think the early 90s, mid 90s. And he saw something way up in the sky, close to the edge of the atmosphere, is what he estimated. There's no way of knowing for sure, but it was moving so fast and made multiple passes right above his location. He doesn't know what it is, and he doesn't think that it was man-made.
I mean, the universe is estimated to be 14 billion years old. Our solar system is only 4 billion years old. There's 10 billion years of history before we even came around. So there's got to be something out there. If we're here, somebody else has to be here and might be dead already. But the universe is just too big for there not to be aliens. Whether they can get here, maybe. We'll figure it out, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Whether they can get here or whether they have been here all along, and we're just now noticing them.
Correct. Or we're waking up to it. All the ancient alien stuff. I understand that. I don't take it away or laugh at anybody's supposedly crackpot theories. within the realm of possibility. I don't think the world is flat. I don't think a couple other things, but have we been visited? It's entirely possible. I wish we could trade and interchange and interact with them if we're biologically compatible. We'll
Wouldn't
have to keep
that
them reins
change
away.
our reality, man?
Oh yeah. I mean, but reality is always changing. So the only people that would be interested in here's my conspiracy theory. The only people that would be interested in keeping that from us are people who are benefiting from the current status quo. So I mean, the nature of life has changed. I mean, I'm sure the Incan emperors wish that nobody had ever seen Pizarro, or same thing. I'm sure the Aztecs would rather be cutting hearts out than deal with Cortez. But eventually we're going to make contact with somebody, or somebody's going to make contact with us, and there won't be any hiding it. And so the current power structure, whatever it is, whatever's holding it up, it'll be swept away. Well, things will be different. Hopefully we survive it. We're not turned into chew toys or pets. We'll see.
I think that's the least likely scenario. This is my opinion.
Yeah.
Because if that was going to happen, I think it would have already started to happen.
No doubt.
The other theory that I think is really interesting is similar to what you write about in your novels, and that's the multi-dimensional theory, multi-universe or multi-dimensional theory, that these beings travel in and out of the different dimensions.
Very well could be. I hope, and since I guess the fact that we're not conquered and using universal translators or being hooked up in battery pods, hopefully that they're on equal footing with us, or at least they have a code holding them back, saying, okay, we won't subjugate these primates just yet.
Or they just don't give us that much attention.
Correct.
They don't even really think about us.
Oh yeah, they might be so advanced. Do you really want to talk with ants? I get it. There's that story of there's a short story out there called "Thinking Meat." Where these machine beings can't believe that meat actually thinks. The concept is almost abominable to them. So they decide to say, yeah, we'll mark this sector as nothing found, because we don't want to deal with thinking meat, because the thought of that is just abhorrent. Meat that thinks. Can you imagine?
Wow. Yeah. I it's funny that you say that, because I'm a vegetarian, but it's not because it's not because I don't believe in killing animals, for food.
Yeah.
I used to enjoy a good steak, well, just as much as anybody.
Health concerns, lifestyle change. I understand. No worries.
Yeah. There's a point in time where if you want to continue to live a quality of life, you got to change something.
Yeah. I'm drinking less. The hangovers are getting meaner. I'm trying to keep myself in shape. It's getting harder. Losing 10 pounds is not the, a week's worth of work like it used to be. Now it's a month or two to lose 10 pounds, and I could put it back on in a weekend. Easy.
Man, I wish I could lose 10 pounds.
Oh.
I walk every day for like an hour and a half. I eat a minimal diet, and I just can't take weight off for some reason.
I know. It's no fair.
But, I'm 54 now, so my metabolism is slowing down with age.
Oh yeah. 45. I'm same way. I'm just, man. And I see my 17-year-old just laying on the couch, like, damn it, boy, get up before you end up like me. Oh well.
Yeah. Well, and his metabolism is burning overtime there, so he could go eat 2 hamburgers, a pile of fries, and a milkshake, and burn it off by the time he gets up.
I remember when about 25 is when I hit the wall, but until then I was just a slayer of buffets, absolute. I would wreck things, and I could have been a competitive eater, I'm sure, because I hollow leg, but not anymore. That's for sure.
That's a dangerous job. Now I've heard that people died over eating. I don't doubt it.
Tearing their esophagus out, or all kinds of stuff. No thanks.
It's a rough way to make a living, man.
Yeah,
50 hot dogs. What?
Yeah.
I don't know how many they eat, but that's crazy.
I like food, but there's probably no joy in them eating it all. It's just,
all right.
It's just,
for sure. Anything, once you make it competitive, then it loses a little bit of its allure.
Correct.
And then you're focused on the winning, because You're not
Takes
really
the,
enjoying the process. You're just focused
yeah,
on the winning.
yeah. It takes the leisure and the gastronomical joy out of it. You just wolf it
Exactly.
down. Yuck. No
So
fun.
let me. Why don't we try to wrap this up,
Yes,
and
sir.
I give you an opportunity to talk about what you're working on next. I know you mentioned the next edition of your series,
Yep.
but is there anything that you're getting ready to put out other than what you've already talked about?
Well, I have a few irons in the fire, but right now, Junction World Book One was called Defiance. Junction World Book Two is called Breakthrough, and then the Junction World Book Three, which I'm in the middle of right now, is called The Headhunter's War. That's basically the rebellion, and that'll get settled. I don't know if my publisher want to keep going with this or not. If not, I'll just revert back to my indie roots. I've always had a superhero project in the works. Not hero, superhuman, because they're definitely not heroes. But I think stuff like The Boys and stuff has definitely taken the wind out of my sails as far as people say, oh, well, you're just copying The Boys. Like, no, I've actually been doing this since '95 off and on. But there's only so many plots out there that you could do. I have a military fantasy thing. I wrote a short story where this cadet goes through like a magical Marine Corps boot camp. A lot of my own experiences from boot camp are in that thing, and eventually, we progressed to a whole war between this magical the Mage Corps and whoever they're fighting. I think that the main enemies in this short story are like this army of necromancers. So it's gonna be a life versus death kind of thing. Uh, so I don't know if it's just ADD or what, but I have like a million different ways I can go, and I won't lack for writing material anytime soon, with or without uh, a way forward. Because I do have a way forward. I can get around the gatekeepers. Not that my own publishers are gatekeepers. They're just trying to do what's right by them. But if they decide, we don't really want this or keep going with this, I can still keep going, and we'll see.
That's good. Any idea when we will see the next edition of the series out?
Oh, Stephen Rhett sent you, didn't they? That's my publishers.
I don't know.
they emailed you. No, between life and reality, there have been delays. I'm not as far along as I should be. I should be done by now, but I'm only halfway through, and so
Just like,
between,
is it a year out or 6 months? What?
I would say 6 months. So yeah. Well, once I get in their hands, editing takes a month or two between revisions, and then they'll publish it direct through Amazon, and it'll be available in like ebook and softcover. And then if we find somebody to pick it up an audiobook, it'll be on audiobook as soon as we can find an actor who can take it on. My first two are an audiobook, and the voice actress, she's amazing. Emily Wu Zeller. She really they chose a female narrator because my main protagonist is female. Her name's Jessica Kramer. So, and everything's from her point of view for the most part. It's about her struggle, and so Emily really brought an amazing amount of characterization to my silly scribbling. She just nailed it.
So are those books more adult fiction or young adult?
I made it so that my kids can read it, but adults can read it. There's no there's graphic violence. I mean, people getting pulled apart and smashed and burned and chopped and shot. So there's violence. There's not a lot of sex. I made up my own profanity. That's gate specific instead of they say gate damned or words like things that synonyms or similes. Dung. Go vent yourself, stuff like that. You hear it, you know how it'd be used, but I don't want to assault anyone's sensibilities. Plus, it works for in universe too. Of course, they're going to develop their own dialect, so their profanity, their word for the infernal depths is the void. The void surrounds all of Junction World. So, what the void do you think you're doing? That kind of stuff. So, I've worked the lingo a little bit, but yeah, there's violence. Not a lot of language unless you are looking for it. Not too much sex. One of the races is a line of rebellious pleasure androids called the War Dancers, and they overthrew their masters, and they're more on a path to bliss, but it's not overt. It's not sexual. So I don't get graphic with sex and profanity, but because I wanted my kids to be able to read it, a pair of high schoolers, but there is some bone breaking, some flesh rendering in there, rending. It gets pretty brutal on the violent side.
Okay. Then how can people find your work, and if they want to get in touch with you?
I'm on Facebook. If you just put in Bear Ross Writer, it'll take you to my public page. You can friend me on Facebook, John Bear Ross. That's cool. On Amazon is what everything is basically offered through. So if you go to the Amazon search bar and you put in Defiance Junction World, it'll pop up. It'll be the first thing.
Cool. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we might have glossed over, or you'd like to go back and rehash a little bit about?
Oh, I'm just glad to be on here. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. It was a good time. I'm one voice in a sea of thousands, but hopefully people read and like what I write. So hopefully it catches on. If it doesn't, it's fine. I'll still keep going.
And from my perspective, it was a pleasure having you on here. It's really interesting hearing your perspective on the different ideas or different topics that we discussed. I think it's always interesting to hear somebody's unique insights about topics that I'm interested in. And, I really try very hard to keep this from going over into the realm of politics or religion, because those two topics are so inflammatory that I've had guests that want to go talk about that stuff, and I just put a stop to it. So you didn't go there. I mean, I'm sure your worlds have their own politics and religions where you address some of those issues in there.
Yeah, you can do analogs and stuff like that, but I'm not out there to offend anyone deliberately. I have my own opinions, but I think religion and politics is kind of like genitalia. Keep it to yourself. Don't take it out and wave it around.
That's one way to put it.
I think the world would be a little bit better. I don't want to hear about it. Not you personally, but I don't want to hear some dudes venting a spleen. It's cool.
Yeah.
Everyone's got opinions. Don't think you're unique. No. Wow.
Yeah, and for people that listen to this podcast, they're not interested in hearing that stuff. They'll consume their political satire somewhere else.
This is entertainment. This is how we get away from those things.
Exactly. So, yeah. So that's a good place to wrap it up. Appreciate you coming on, man. I will talk to you soon.
All right, sir. You have a good day.
Yeah, you too.